My best friend at the time was also a drag queen in recovery, and that was really exciting for me. My professional career as an entertainer, most of it has a sober anchor to it, even if it is in places of a debauchery full of jazz, sin, and liquor. There's still, for me, it's it's always been, anchored in sobriety.
Stories are powerful.
Welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast, brought to you by The Phoenix. This is a space where people impacted by substance use can come to share their story of strength and resilience, get open and honest, and inspire hope and build community through shared experience.
We'll be talking to people in our community on their own recovery journey and shine a light on the topic of recovery in all its forms. Maybe you'll hear some of your story in theirs.
Let's show the world that together we rise, recover, and live.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. We are your hosts, Bryce III, he, him pronouns.
And Liz McKean, she, her pronouns.
And Liz, this is a very exciting episode. But before we get into introducing our guest, how's your energy?
My energy is, I'm excited. I told you earlier that I'm a little tired today, but it's okay. It's, Monday's gonna Monday. But yeah, I'm like I said, again earlier, I'm just mildly starstruck by our guest. So just gives me a little vibraty feeling. How's your energy, Bryce?
I'm good. Mondays are cool. I'm working on being a bit more organized, focused, but ultimately, just allowing myself to be who it is that I am. I got a bit of travel coming up, so excited to get out here and touch the people. But yeah, enough about us. Who do we have here today with us? Please.
Oh my goodness. So today I'm going to go into a very tiny little intro because our conversation is going to be, I think, introduction in full. But today we have our friend Caldwell, who's here to share his story and is a friend of another friend of the podcast, Andy Short. Shout out to Andy's episode. And Caldwell, we're so thrilled to have you. So welcome and thank you. And how are you today?
I'm well. I'm in a pretty good mood. I woke up today, which I've been doing every day for the past 37 years, and I haven't done a whole lot, to be honest. I woke up and I think I looked at some TikToks this morning, and then I asked my partner if I could drink his Monster that he had in the fridge. It was his last one, and he very graciously allowed me to have it.
Oh, that's love.
And here I am talking to you, lovely people.
That's wonderful. Well, we feel very lucky to be here talking to you. And you are on the West Coast, correct? Is that where you're?
Oh yeah, you all not on the. I said good afternoon to you all, and I guess it is afternoon no matter where you are in America, unless you're in Hawaii. Yeah. Are y'all East Coasters?
Yeah, well, so I'm Midwest. I'm in Detroit. Liz is in Florida.
Oh my, we are really in three different time zones.
Covering all the corners of the country. I know that's how we like to do it.
The Continental 48 really representing up in this piece.
Sure is. Well, Caldwell, this is the first time that we've been so lucky to meet you. And, our podcast is about all the things. We're so thrilled to hear everybody's stories in any way that they want to share them. And I think what I would love to just start with for you is what recovery means to you and whether recovery is something that is meaningful to you.
Well, that's an interesting. No one's ever asked me, is recovery meaningful to me? Which I think my very short answer is yes. And I think my very long New York answer is is anything meaningful? Does anything mean anything? It means what it means to the person that it means something to, you know what I mean? And and I reckon recovery is just, I would probably categorize it as a person trying their best to quelch or minimize a behavior that they find detrimental to themselves. So, that could be anything from sex to food to substances, behaviors, such as being codependent. It could mean a lot of things. A lot of people are in recovery from a lot of things. So in theory, aren't we all in recovery from something? We're not all in programs. We're not all doing work and steps, but aren't we all in recovery from something? Am I being too esoteric today?
Nah, I like it. I love it. Very philosophical of you. And so this everybody's in recovery from something has been one of those things where I personally kind of like buck back against just
Mhm.
because of like the intentional nature of recovering. Like we might all have these variables or these indications of maybe some codependency or maybe some alcoholism or maybe some addiction or maybe some but if the person doesn't themselves say, yo, I would like to shift this, I would like to change this, and begin to put action into their process on a daily basis to change that or fix it, then, are we recovering, So
I think
that's,
that's a good question. I got sober in New York City, which is really great sobriety, but it's also a little judgy. It's low key judgy sobriety, right? Like when you're in New York City, they
talk
are
about it.
they are. I mean, I truly am a New Yorker, like through and through. I mean, I was very much brought up in the New York City sober scene. I moved to New York City counting days. You know what I mean? Where you can't mention any, like there are certain rooms where if you mention something that's not alcohol, some old timer in the back will yell, "This is AA!"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then I moved to California, where this is just the wild, wild west of sobriety.
Literally.
I'm in these rooms like, we are cross talking, we are interrupting people, phones are going off. The meeting started at 3 minutes late. This is you would never catch a
Anarchy.
meeting starting 3 minutes late in New York City. 3 minutes, you might as well just not. The meeting might as well not happen.
Doors locked.
Yeah, it might as well not happen at this point. And when the last person is sharing, if they're sharing over the hour mark, everyone's hands are hovered to start clapping as soon as you're done talking. They're like, and then everyone's like, all right, we gotta go. But in LA, they're like, we're gonna just go for a little bit longer. We're just gonna go a little longer. So I'm experiencing how less staunch sobriety is here in LA.
So with all those different experiences in recovery from where you were in New York to where you are in Cali, how has that been for you? What has that experience been like for you, having to kind of acquiesce to these different environments?
I used to go to a lot more meetings than I do now. When I first, I've been sober for about 15 years, and when I first started in these sobriety streets, I was one of those definitely like a meeting a day, like go hard. It was just what I really needed, and also needed a sense of community. And I had just moved to a great big new city, and I was 22 years old. I just didn't know anyone in the city. Like imagine moving to a city where you know literally one other person, and then you're kind of low key in a fight with that person. I got thrown out of their house. I was staying on my friend's couch, and he threw me out. So I didn't know anyone, and I had nowhere to go. So I found this community of people who kept saying stuff like, "Let us love you till you learn to love yourself." And I was like, "Well, these are people I can learn to be around." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I'm a little bit more. I'm 15 years older, which is a lot older. A large chunk of a person's life, I would say 15 years is, and a little more jaded. New York really had an effect on me. I really am a New Yorker. I'm a Southerner. I'm a Southerner as a child, but almost my entire adult socialization was in New York City. I got there when I was 22, and I left when I was 35. Pretty much my entire 20s was all New York City, and that can have an effect on a person. And the way that you show up in the world,
So when you say jaded, like I'm curious, like what do that mean?
Well, just think about how a New Yorker just kind of like I don't want to. I hate to sound like one of those like let me tell you about New York, kid. But like you just kind of like you somehow it just everything's boiled down until you have the rawest of the ingredients. You know what I mean? So all the water and all the fluff and all the everything is evaporated away, and all you're left with is like salt and sugar. You know what I mean? So you have just the realest parts of a person. So I do less niceties. And less like I used to be a really big people pleaser. I used to be really, really big into people pleasing. And I think that sobriety in New York City really wore that out of me. And now I'm much more interested in presenting a much more authentic version of myself to people and letting them decide if that person that I'm presenting is pleasing to them, as opposed to trying to make the person they see, making them pleased with the person they see. So I used to like try to make sure you were pleased, and now I give you the real deal, and you get to decide if I'm pleasing.
Which always was the case. Like that's so interesting because that's like cool to have that evolution within yourself. And also, I mean, we spend a lot of time worrying about what somebody else is going to think and feel, and we never did actually have any control over that. Like,
Yeah.
so how freeing to just
Exactly.
be like accepting of that.
Yeah, it's really freeing, actually. Yeah, I love it.
Because I think what it sounds like to me too is that's the process of actively building a relationship with ourselves allows for us to have an experience long enough and enough experiences to like really get to know who we are. And then some of those, what you call niceties, but may just be like non-serving behaviors, like we begin to put them to the side because these no longer align with who it is that like I see myself as being. I'm getting to know myself. And so I don't have to go above and beyond to please you and give you this facade when I'm really interested in authenticity. So how much of that do you think is like because you were a New Yorker, or because how much of it do you think is because like you really dug into like that active process of getting to know yourself?
Well, I think that for me, the experiences are inextricably tied to each other. They go hand in hand. So I can't say this is because of this is because of steps, this is because of working in nightlife, this is because of moving 3 times within a year, this is because of like I think they all influence each other. It's like when you bake a cake, you can't be like this part is because of the eggs and this part is because of the flour and this part is because of the sugar. It's because they're all working together. If you eat a mouthful of sugar, if you eat the amount of sugar in a cake, it will not taste like a cake. And if you eat the amount of flour in a cake alone, it will not taste like a cake. You have to mix them all together.
All right, Kirk Franklin. You ever see that video with Kirk Franklin talk about all the ingredients for a cake? Like if you eat the butter, it's gonna be disgusting. If you eat the sugar, it's gonna be nasty. But put it all together and you get a cake.
I'm more familiar with the video of Kirk Franklin cussing out his son. Have you seen the video of Kirk Franklin cussing out his son?
He got gangster.
That is the Kirk Franklin I'm familiar with. Get ready for the revolution.
No, that's crazy. Hey, so you said 22 is when you moved to New York. Is that when you got sober?
Yeah. I moved to New York counting days, honey. Like a maniac, like a damned maniac.
So some would say 22 is young. Why?
I'm one of those some. 22 is very young. If you're 22, you're young. I mean, I still feel young. I'm 37. I don't think, now not all would say 37 is young.
I would.
We do.
As the oldest person in this room, I would say 37 is young.
Someone recently commented on like a video of mine about me and about how like, because I'm an entertainer, and they were like, well, he can't like still sing and he can't still dance. Guys, he's 37. And I was like, what? I was like,
the audacity.
I was like, what do you think happens to a 37-year-old body? I can still dance. I can dance. I can do a cartwheel right now if I wanted to.
That will probably mess up our technology.
I'm gonna say, I don't know how easy that'd be to pull off with headphones on. But we love to see that if you want to do that. But like, so with with being young, and like, what was that experience like? So I got sober when I was 23, 24. And
am I the youngest one? How old are you, Bryce?
I am
35, I think.
No, I'm not 35. 34.
I can't remember.
I think I just turned 34.
I don't know.
No, 34. I just turned 34. What the heck?
Am I the middle child here in this room? I'm the middle child.
I'm 42. I'm 42.
Oh,
yeah,
the middle
so
child.
we're
I
right
think are we
oh.
all evenly apart for 3 years and then 5 years? Never mind.
Getting sober that young, especially, so you speak of the rooms. So my pathway to begin with, and still is 12-step. And so, a lot of those rooms, I didn't really see people my age, let alone like, I didn't see a lot of people from my culture. There was a lot of I didn't see, but the desperation.
This is in Detroit?
I'm in Detroit, yeah, Detroit.
Is that where you started?
Yep, got sober here.
Work.
Yeah.
When I was first, I did see a lot of young people, did not see a lot of Black people. There were a few of us. But all the Black people who were there were usually old timers. This is just for me. This is not. I'm not saying there's not young Black people in the rooms. That's not what I'm saying. Everyone, I'm talking about where I was getting sober at in New York City, because it really, it was important for me to get to get together and get myself together in a queer space. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that was I just remember at the time that was what I felt like I needed.
When you and you were in the rooms in New York City for how many years did you say? When I don't remember when you moved out to California.
I lived in New York City for 12 years.
Okay. When you moved out to California, were you still actively involved in like the 12-step program? Is that continued to be?
I go to meetings. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not as much as I was in New York City, but a lot of my friends here are also in recovery, and we go together to different rooms and different meetings here. Shout out Log Cabin. If you ever want to go somewhere that is very hot and very hard to hear the speaker, I recommend Log Cabin.
Really selling it. That's amazing.
Don't sit by the fan. I was sitting by the fan like a maniac, but also the fan will keep you cooler. So it's either do you want to be hot or do you want to hear? You really have to pick your poison here.
One or the other.
Yeah.
So what, I feel like I can guess, but what brought you out to the West Coast of the country?
Well, I actually moved to the West Coast to buy a home because I couldn't afford. I didn't want to live in anything I could afford in New York City. And when you move to LA because it's the cheaper choice, that says a lot about the New York City real estate market. If LA is the cheaper choice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just moved out here. I moved out here to buy a home. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And I mean, I know that you're like the work that you do, which, if you want to talk about it, that's lovely. And if not, that's totally fine too.
Well, I have a lot of things that I do. I'm a musician. I'm a comedian. I am a podcaster. I am an internet personality. I work in reality television, unscripted TV. I work in scripted TV. I'm an actor. So I think that the broad definition of what I do is I'm an entertainer. I do so much stuff. I can't because I have a hard time focusing. Maybe I need to lean into focusing on things more.
I think you're in good company when it comes to this space anyway. So you are very welcome here.
To give an idea, a breadth of what I do. So like in the past 3 days, I was filming some stand-up comedy specials in Madison, Wisconsin. And then I went to San Francisco to do a music festival. And then the next morning I was doing my podcast. All for work. These are all work related. You know what I mean? But it's just how like what I do is just so it's so 2023.
It's a plethora.
Yeah.
One might say.
Smorgasbord even.
A smorgasbord, yeah. Even better. I mean, I think that's the beauty of, I don't know, like as a person who struggles to focus myself, I feel like it's, it can be a superpower. It can also be a kryptonite. And the superpower of it is that you can do all those things, that you can like pivot and enjoy it, to be able to jump from kind of one piece of your world to another.
Like, what role does your work play into like your active recovery? Like being a comedian or being, going to music festivals, or like, how do you keep yourself like grounded, shielded, equipped to be able to take on life on life's terms, to be able to go out here and create in the midst of community?
Well, maybe I would say a big part of it is the attraction. Like, I'm like, maybe if someone knows about me and knows that I, am in recovery and is like, oh, wow, you can do all these things and be in recovery. This is so exciting, especially navigating in places that are not known for their recovery, not known for their sobriety. But, I'm a drag queen. And when I started doing drag, I started really out in these streets with my sober friends. We were all together. Going to the clubs. So we were each other's like safe spaces. And we were the ones who were like, I look at all these messes. We're sober. We were helping ourselves through the whole thing. My best friend at the time was also a drag queen in recovery. And that was really exciting for me. My professional career as an entertainer, most of it has a sober anchor to it, even if it is in places of debauchery full of jazz, sin, and liquor. There's still, for me, it's always been, anchored in sobriety. I mean, the early years of my acting, and I mean early years, because I got sober very, very young, from like 18 to 22, which is 4 years, as opposed to the past 7. I'm doing math wrong. 15 years of my professional career. So I've been a professional performer in some capacity since I was 18 years old, and I am now 37. So that's 19 years, almost 20 years. I've been, pretty much paying my bills through entertaining people. You know?
Yeah. Is there an anchor there? Like, did you purposely create that anchor for yourself, like by surrounding yourself with other people that are doing the same thing that you are doing sober?
So, okay, so here's the funny part is like, not all of my friends are sober, but a lot of my friends either just don't drink or don't drink like that. You know what I mean? So whenever I would go out to the clubs, I have friends who get turned, who get zooted, who are on the booger sugar, who are on the liquid courage, who are on the wacky tobacco, the cuckoo cabbage. I have all those friends. You know what I mean? Friends who have tickets to the meth gala. I do have friends like that. But my close friends usually don't really drink like that. Or they are sober. You know what I mean? And I just end up getting I feel like I'm just naturally attracted to people who are just like, yeah, I just kind of don't drink.
Mm.
Or I'm sober.
Well, what about your creativity? Like a lot of people will live under the guise that they need to have something else in them or need to be pushed to inspiration through external resources, right? So like how do you maintain your creativity? How do you maintain that ability to show up and perform?
Well, I do want to say that everyone's brain chemistry is different. And, there are some people who I don't partake in any of these things. I have friends who are like microdosing and who like are medically marijuana-nated. I'm not one of those people. It doesn't help me. You know what I mean? So I'm not. I don't think that I'm in a position to be like, it's not good for anyone, and no one needs it to be creative, and no one needs it to stick. I don't know what your brain's doing. I have no clue what's going on in your brain. I'm just talking about me and my brain. And if what I'm saying resonates with you, then maybe you have a brain chemistry that's similar to mine, and you should try what I'm trying. That's giving attraction rather than promotion. You know what I mean? But then I was thinking the other day, like, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was very young, but my mother was like, "Not my baby." That's when they were like shoving Ritalin down kids' throats like they were, peanut M&Ms. And I have never been medicated. I probably should be. And a lot of people who listen to me do interviews are like, "Girl, you probably should be on some form of attention deficit medication." I just never have. I'm kind of afraid to do it at this point. It occurred to me recently that I might be a little autistic, but I'm afraid of the diagnosis. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep raw dogging life because it's what's worked out for me the most
if it's
so
working.
far. Yeah, it is working for me, and I'm afraid of what a diagnosis would do to me. But I exhibit some characteristics of a person who struggles with some degree of autism and ADHD. But I just kind of don't want to know. I'm just like, ooh, it's like a little secret that I'm keeping for myself. It's like a little gender reveal. I don't even know my own diagnosis. I'm just going through life and
cut open that cake and see what color it is.
Exactly. And maybe at the age of 70, I'll get a test and be like, the whole time it could have been easier if I had been on Adderall. But as of now, I am raw dogging it, baby.
So as you showing up and you raw dogging it, right? So like it is your creativity pretty much on rails right now, where it's like everything is set up to support your creativity, or is there like things that you have to do specifically to be able to lean into being creative?
Well, I'm very capable of being creative. I think where I have a hard time is execution. I always say I have ideas faster than I can do them. I can't do all of the ideas. I cannot do all of my ideas. They are happening so fast in my head that even if I laid them out back to back, I'd be busy till the day I died. You know what I mean? So now I'm working on prioritizing. And, I am very, what is clear, what is the most available and accessible to me? I'm one of those people that if I keep doing laundry, I will just keep wearing the clothes that are on the top of the pile. I will never make it to the bottom of the drawer. I'll just keep doing laundry and you'll just keep seeing me in the same 7 shirts over and over again because I would just keep grabbing what's on top every single time because I'm like, ooh, it's right there. I'll just do that because that's the easiest for me until someone's like, what about this shirt you used to wear that had the funny saying on it? And I go, oh my God, I forgot about that shirt. I love that.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I'm very out of sight, out of mind. Truly.
Same.
Truly.
Yeah. I'm like that, and I have just a lot of the same things, like just because I'm not going to keep up with laundry, but also I don't want to have to put that much thought into it. So I end up having I do yoga, for example, and I have all the same tops and all the same bottoms, and then a couple of like random colors that my husband made me buy because he was like, people are going to think that you just wear dirty clothes because you only ever wear the exact same thing every single time you do yoga. And I was like, and now I have this like blue pair of pants and this like maroon shirt that I'm like, why did I buy these? Like, I don't even care if they think that. So anyways,
there's this video of this guy at work. He's working at some job, and he and his coworkers are like, you wear the same underwear every day. You don't wash your underwear. And he comes back to work the next day, and he's crying. He's literally crying, and he's holding all these underwear that are the exact same underwear. And he's like, I'm not wearing dirty underwear. And he's like crying, and he's like, my wife keeps buying it. He go home. He's like, you got these motherfuckers making fun of me because you won't buy me because you keep buying me the same underwear.
How do his coworkers know what his underwear looked like?
Well, your shirt rise up a little bit and your underwear go above your waistband, and you're like picking stuff up. And,
yeah. All right. That makes sense.
It is a wild video. It is a very wild video. I don't know how we got there. I do know because of your husband and the
Look, I don't know how we got anywhere, man. We just going for real. What are some essentials in Caldwell's life? What are some essentials for your day to day? What do you need to be able to perform, or just be at peace, or to live?
I need very little. I need very little in the world these days. I need a little time to myself. I need time and the ability to reflect on what I'm doing. I just need to be able to I need the world to like leave me alone for a little bit. I'm really comfortable not responding to text messages. I'm very comfortable just being like, nope, not gonna respond to that. Which drives some people really like nutty. But I'm just really chill being like, I don't want to respond to that right now. So I'm just going to let it go.
That is like the most inspiring thing I think I've possibly heard, because I'm very uncomfortable. I'm terrible at responding and also very uncomfortable with that. So I have a relatively broad question that I want to ask you that is selfish and hopefully helps more people than just me. But so you've talked about the fact that, I mean, you've moved around. Like you started in the South,
yeah,
you were in New York, and then you went out. And you are, you're comfortable not responding to text messages. You are comfortable with, when folks meet you, it's like you get to decide, I'm just going to be me and I'm not going to worry about your perception. You are a lot of different things, entertainment wise, but like all very public, like, that folks, you are seen. And I mean, is that a recovery thing, or is that just who you always have been when it comes to like, this is me?
It's definitely not who I've always been. Definitely not. And I don't say that I'm someone who's like, I don't care what people think about me, because I think everyone cares what people, because
and
the reason why a lot of us care what people think about us is because what people think about you affects you. You know what I mean? It depends on who it is, what they're thinking about you. So the things that people think about you, they actually do affect you. They affect your livelihood. They can affect your everything from your job down to your safety. So what people think about you actually does matter. I don't want to be one of the folks that go, no one thinks about you matters. But I do think that a lot of it was, I call it a combination of New York and sobriety, which I was just going to call New York sobriety. I think that my New York sober journey has really given me the opportunity to be stronger in my sense of myself. You know what I mean? Because New York City is a place where it's like a lot of it is about community, but also about individualism. So like when you're there, you are a part of something humongous, but you're so individual that it's kind of mind-boggling. You're so individual in a town with 12 million people. You're on an island with you're on a very small island. I don't think people realize how tiny Manhattan is. Manhattan is smaller than Disney World. Manhattan is literally smaller than Disney World. Yeah. Manhattan is about 13 miles from top to bottom and about 5 miles east to west, with millions of people at the same time. Meanwhile, you still stand out. And I think that that's a lot of the New Yorker part, and then a lot of the group part was being a part of a 12-step program and learning how to show up for people, and also learning when I remember a moment I learned where I was like, okay, you're doing too much. You don't need to do all this to get people like you. I was doing hospitality for this meeting in the West Village. called. Can we say the names of meetings here? Is that kosher here?
We're all pathways to recovery, so you get to decide what yours.
It was called High Noon. This meeting it's a huge meeting in New York City. And I was doing hospitality, and I was like, baby, I'm going to give them a hospitality experience that they've never fucking seen. They're going to be like, am I at the Bellagio? This is crazy. They're going to think they're at the Fort. Like, I was going to make this. I was going to be baking. I was going to have options, and I was doing a lot of that stuff. And then one day someone was like, basically, like, girl, we're just here for the coffee, and this is really just to keep you sober. Like, we're not opening a restaurant. You're not a maitre d'. We're gonna like you the same regardless. You doing the most isn't gonna make us like you more or less. We've just decided that because you're on the journey that we're on, doing what we're doing, we like you until you give us a reason not to. Which would be in New York City something as simple as cross-talking. And that was a real big moment where I kind of stopped my people pleasing, that meeting.
We gonna like you regardless. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And sometimes I had to remind myself where it's like, yo, like, you're supported. You are a part of a community where people like inherently like rock with you. You don't have to stretch or be something other than who it is that you're coming to understand that you are. And that allows for our own personal unfolding. And I think that leads to my next question for you is who you are today, who you were when you started. And if so, if not, what has changed?
There was some comment on like something. One of my high school friends commented on something that was like, "You've changed," and I was like, "Yeah, I was 15. I certainly hope I've changed at least a little bit from the person you met when I was 15 years old. Yes, I've changed. You got me. Hands up. You caught me. Yeah, I'm not the same person I was anymore, and I think that I've certainly changed. I think what is the biggest difference? I think maybe because I'm not a completely different person. I still have a lot of what I think at my core, what makes me who I am is not to sound like nerdy, but is my brain chemistry mixed with my experiences. So the brain I have with the experiences that I've had, and I think that I've had 15 years more of experiences with the same brain. So it's just that me responding to things responding to all of the things that have happened to me over the years. So I think I'm still a friendly person, and I'm still a hardworking person, but I am maybe now less focused on not focused, but less focused on the way that other people perceive me, as opposed to just presenting myself and then just allowing them to perceive me.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to control the narrative as much as I used to.
Yeah, and I think so. I don't know if we touched enough base in the beginning for me to really understand like how much I can communicate, like how well known you are and how many accolades you may have, or how recognized you are. But I'm really interested in, with all that recognition or with so many eyes on you, and once somebody see you in a certain capacity, there can be these expectations of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the relationship with being in the public eye as much as you are, having the accolades that you have, and allowing for your growth, your continuous growth, and becoming who it is that you can continue to become?
You mean like, is this like in regards to like being humble, or is this just in regards to like, because I don't identify as humble.
Talk about
I just
it.
don't like the definition of humble. I'm gonna read. I always try to read this definition of humble to people because I just hate it. It's just such a like I don't want this to describe me. Having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance.
I don't like that either.
What about humility?
That's going to be even worse. The definition of humility says a modest or low view of one's own self-importance. It's the same thing, and I'm just not interested in having a modest estimate of myself, and definitely interested in having a low estimate of my own self-worth. And I get that colloquially, humble and modest are used a little bit differently, but in my experience, when someone tells you to stay humble, it's just because they want you to stay on a level with them. They want you to know. When in my experience, when someone says, "Please stay humble," what they're basically saying is, without saying it is, "You're not better than me, and you never will be." Which is such a weird thing to say to someone when they achieve something. If someone achieves something, the first thing you think to say is "stay humble." It's like, what is going on here? What about congratulations, man?
Just
What
skip the whole
happened?
congrats. Like, what happened?
Yeah, I think we missed
That's
a
crazy.
step here. So no, I don't necessarily identify as humble, but I do identify as grateful. I'm very, very grateful for the things that I have in my life and the people who support me. And I try my best to, operate within my own moral compass. I obviously cannot. I don't share a moral compass with people who support me in my career. We just a lot of us probably happen to have a lot of overlap, but each one of them is a Venn diagram, and none of them are complete circles. You know what I mean?
I do not identify as a person who is humble. That is maybe my new favorite quote.
I just don't want to be humble. I just hate.
No, well,
I ain't gonna lie. I rock with humility. Like, after you read the definition of humility, because it didn't say self-worth, it said self-importance. And I think for me, like, my ego can get crazy. And like, I am, I was listening to something recently, and it really helped me change my perspective, because it's like, when you get about others, when you get into service, it's less about walking into a room and being like, "Here I am," and more like walking into a room like, "Oh, there you are," and shifting that position to be of service and to like continue to feed into the spaces that you step into. And I know for me, especially when things get tough, I'm working to pace myself. I'm not exactly where I want to be right now. And I know I'm better than where I am right now. Like, and I'm so in there, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I'm putting the importance in the wrong, putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? Like, I need to focus on people. How can I serve? How can I contribute? And so, like, having that relationship with myself importance that allows for me to have humility in moments, like, that's good for me.
When I first got sober in New York City, they were telling us I remember people saying how important it is that you're here. The fact that you're sitting in that chair is very important. The fact that you gather chairs after the meeting, if you're going to sweep, if you're getting coffee, if you're reading, if you're just taking down phone numbers, that is all important. So this idea of like having your level of importance be, by the way, you being important does not mean that someone else is not important.
Yeah.
My importance has nothing to do with how important you are. These are completely different, separate things. You know what I mean? So I can be important, and that does not have to have an impact on anyone else's importance. It's just me and this is talking about for me and my, and for me, being told that me showing up to do hospitality or to chair a meeting or to read literature or to sponsor someone, being told that was important, probably kept me sober for a long time.
You came and gave him a buffet.
You're like, I would be the most important, actually.
I'm more humble than you ever heard that joke?
You're the most humble.
I'm the most humble person ever.
I'm the best at being humble. I should get an award for how humble I am. I mean, I think you nailed it right on the head where it was, I think that's when someone says like, be humble. It's when they are making it about them, like, which is kind of, I don't know, projecting maybe. Whereas if I think that you being excited about your success, or you even just like being, and being not on purpose, making yourself smaller, that they feel like that means that's less space for them to take up. And you don't have that power nor responsibility. There are definitely instances where folks are taking up space that someone else, deserves to be in. And that's not a need for humility. That's a need for, I don't know, awareness of other people aside from that in the room. But yeah, I think the way you're describing it is, you still are, you deserve to take up space, and that doesn't take away from anybody else. Like, you can take up space and still be conscious and respectful of everyone else's ability to, and everyone else's importance. And
yeah, for sure. Well, that makes sense to me.
So you said 15 years with your brain chemistry, having the experiences that you've had. And in those 15 years, with that brain chemistry, having the experiences that you've had, what have been some of the most impactful things that you've learned?
What was, I mean, 15 years. How can I sum up um
Only
15,
12 words in the sentence. You can't
you
do
know?
A
anything more than
haiku,
that.
if you could.
Let me give you a little 575. What have I think that doing what you say you're gonna do has been a real anchor in my life. Like saying you're gonna do it and then actually doing it has been really important to me. And it really means a lot to me when people are so gagged that I showed up when I said I was going to show up. Like someone, like tell someone like I'm coming to your show, and then I show up, and then I never text them about it again. Then I just show up and I'm in the audience, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're actually here!" I'm like, "Yeah, I said I was coming." Like,
Mm,
why? Following through with your word has been a pillar of I think what makes me feel like a good person based on
mm.
my own moral compass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so big too, because you know that you're the type of person that's gonna show up when you say you will. So
Mhm.
it's less about, at least for me, it's less about like what other people think and more about like how I feel when I say what I say. Like my word is my bond.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I also know too that like I'm a person who's become quite reliable. Like I knowing that my friends can rely on me means so much to me because I have not always been a reliable friend. In
Mhm.
fact, I was a very I was it was noted how unreliable I was. Like that was a big part of people knowing me and like they're like, "Oh, you can't depend on him. He'll never show up. If you might as well not even call." And the fact that I've turned that around, that I'm very proud of, and I will not be humble about it.
That's awesome. As long as what they're depending on is not a text back. The
Exactly.
showing up, yes. The texting back, no.
Because I never said I was going to text you back.
That's right.
Yeah, I never
There
said
you
I was going
go.
to text you
It's
back.
just not a contract.
If anything,
I
I
think it
said I
was.
wasn't going to.
There you go, and let it be heard here. I think Glennon Doyle is one of my favorites, and she's a writer and a podcaster, and she's talked about texting and how she'll just have hundreds of unread texts with like takes my breath away a little bit just thinking about. But she was like, when did we all agree that everyone should have access to us all the time? That like by you texting me, I am required to immediately
I
I
agree with
didn't sign
that.
up for
Because the
that.
thing about a phone call is I can just not answer it. But a
Right.
text is like, if you're in the same room as someone and you say, "Hey, Bryce, do you want to go to the store?" If you don't answer, that's considered rude. But with a text, you get to just text me at any point in time and I just have to respond to you. I can ignore a phone call. That's me saying I don't want to engage with that right now. But you get to just
Mhm.
send me any text at any time and now now you get a response? No. No.
Mhm.
Boundaries, baby, boundaries.
Exactly.
I'm working on those. Working on those. I'm gonna stop apologizing for my very slow response with texts.
Well, yeah, no, so this is, I think this has been a really cool conversation. It's been good to get to know you a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you.
And as we start to wind down a bit before we get up out of here, I think what I want to do, I want to ask the question. So if you could go back to any version of yourself and give whatever version you choose a word of advice, what version of yourself would you pick and what word of advice would you give him?
Well, I've always said this: Black people don't time travel. Let's just
the
You've always said that. That's
the
interesting.
further back we go, the less fun we have.
Black folks do not. I don't want to go back 2 weeks. Black folks do. We do not time travel. We do. We only go forward.
Forward only.
Let's just make that abundantly clear. And I think that if I could give any advice, it's such a lame answer, and I wish it was cooler, but it's just not very cool. I would tell my college self to, I didn't graduate college. I would probably set myself up, give myself some advice to help myself actually finish college and not have to not drop out. I was not a good student. I've never been a good student, and I also was working 2 jobs. I was working at Applebee's and Ruby Tuesday, and working at college at the same time, while doing summer gigs and as an actor. It was too much. It was truly, genuinely too much for me. I can confidently say that.
You made me
What
tired.
would the advice be to finish college? Because I feel like I would want to go back and tell you it's okay. Like take the pressure off yourself a little bit.
Some of the things. One, I would say don't take these summer courses. You know, you don't have a computer. You cannot do you can't do online classes because you don't own a computer. Don't go get that computer. Don't rent that laptop from Rent-A-Center because it is intentionally overpriced. It is made so they will come repossess it from you. This is all really boring advice. I wish it was like more like broad
very
advice,
sound advice,
but it's all very specific advice. You know what I mean? I would say don't take out that private loan. Stick to your. I would say, baby, you have Pell Grant. You should be able to finish college. You should be able to finish college in the time that you have allotted here. It's that kind of advice I would give myself. And you know, a part of why I wish I finished college. You know, I do live in not fear, but like I just hate that I have the stigma of being like a black man who didn't finish college. A black man, like I feel like I carry the, which by the way does go into respectability of politics and you know, being viewed as an uneducated black man is my desire to not be viewed as some sort of a failure, and I realize that it is based on how society views Black people and trying to uphold a system that wasn't made for us. I understand that. That being said, it still does. I do still feel some embarrassment that I didn't finish college, and I wish I had. You know, my aunt just got her PhD. Shout out to Aunt Willie. She just got her PhD in theology,
Woo!
And I think she's the first PhD in our entire family.
Nice.
Aunt Willie?
Aunt Willie. Yeah, I think she's in her 70s.
And now she's Dr.
Aunt Willie. That's what I call her, Dr. Aunt Willie.
I love it. Well, congratulations to her. That's incredible. Well, thank you for being so just open about that and specific. I mean, there's no wrong answer to that question. And I think to be thoughtful enough to go back and like really, these are like some really specific things that I think would be helpful. And also reflecting on like why you feel that way. I mean, those are the things that somebody is going to hear and is feeling similarly, or maybe he was about to go to Rent-A-Center and now they're not going to.
Yeah, please don't go to Rent-A-Center. Rent-A-Center is a trap. Rent-A-Center is about as much of a trap as a payday loan. Stay away from those places.
Rent-A-Center is a scam on people who don't have a lot of money. It is intentionally meant to
look and see where they at. Where are most Rent-A-Centers at?
Exactly. Pawn shops, Rent-A-Centers, do not go to these places. They are meant to keep poor people poor. Do not give them your belongings and do not take belongings from them.
The name of this podcast episode is Rent-A-Center. Don't do it.
Don't. We're gonna have like a slew of 1-star reviews, and it's gonna be like just like Rent-A-Center, so and so.
Do Rent-A-Centers still exist?
They do. There's like one right up the street from me.
Don't go.
Well, not right up the street from me because I'm not in the neighborhood, but it's.
You ain't gonna never find a Rent-A-Center in Beverly Hills. I'll tell you that right now.
Nah,
ain't no Rent-A-Center in Beverly Hills, honey.
They know better.
Yeah.
No, they got different ways to take your money there, I think, too.
Yeah.
Maybe to stay away.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciated you sliding through the podcast today, Caldwell, and
my pleasure.
And I really appreciated this conversation. Good to get to know you, and
Yeah, and Caldwell, I know that folks, we're gonna have some info about who you are in the show notes and whatever you choose to share as far as links and everything. But is there anywhere that you would like to guide folks if they wanted to hear more from you, if they wanted to get to know you better, or even like recovery resources that you would share?
Well, I tell everyone in New York City to go to Intergroup. Everyone should go to Intergroup if you're in New York City. And if you want to know more about me and my thoughts and my ridiculous opinions, some of them about television and some of them about social issues in life, I have a podcast called Sibling Rivalry. You can go to siblingrivalrypodcast.com.
Amazing. We'll link that in the show notes and highly recommend. We love a podcast friend. So yeah, just echo Bryce to say thank you for being here. We know how precious your time is, and your thoughts and your opinions are precious as well.
They're important.
So they are.
Very important.
We do not identify as humble.
Do not turn down at all.
Amazing.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for your time today.
Of course. Yeah. Well, and thanks everybody for listening. We're so grateful that you're here week after week. Please subscribe or follow on whatever podcast app you are listening on. Give us a rating, review. We just couldn't do this without you, and we sure wouldn't want to. And we will see you next time.
Catch you later.
Bye, everyone.
So now you're excited. Bryce, Liz, how do I get involved with the Phoenix? Well, my friend, it is super simple. We actually have an app. Head over to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or look in the show notes of this podcast, wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, and go download the Phoenix app.
The Phoenix app makes it so easy to find classes that are near you or to access our virtual class schedule where you can hop on from the comfort of your home. You can also join our groups and have a conversation with someone from the Phoenix community from anywhere in the world. Please make sure that you join the podcast group where you can connect with Bryce and I and other listeners. Everything that you need is in the show notes. You can also head to our website at www.thephoenix.org. And maybe while you're there, you click the volunteer tab and get even more involved.